Jackson Radio Show.
Desperados. Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. It's Kevin Jackson Show. We are talking about desperation. That's a horrible feeling, isn't it? When you feel desperate. It's like, how am I going to get that bill paid? You know, I got to get that job. I have to make it to something on time, whatever it is that creates that desperation. And there are degrees of it. And let me tell you something. You learn this when you're properly trained. You learn it as a child. Children feel desperation quickly. They feel angst. You tell them to clean up their room, and I can't clean. It's a lot to clean up, and they cry. They cry immediately. Boom. You say something to a kid that makes them feel desperate, and they immediately. And as they get older, the crying gets a little further and farther between. A typical kid. Think about it. How often does a baby cry? Multiple times a day. How often does a toddler cry? Multiple times a day, but usually less than a baby. How often does a what's the next, a small child cry? A lot, but less than a toddler and less than a baby. How often does a teen cry? I don't know, a couple times a week. If it's a girl, once a day. Whatever. I know that was so misogynist. But anyway, you get my point. The older you get, the less you cry. As an adult, you cry once a month, maybe. Once every couple of weeks, depending on the circumstances, right? How many people died, something that affects you, but you cry less and less and less, because what happens is you learn how to deal with angst. Things that would normally have made you desperate. Like a girl in junior high trying to be popular with the girls. She's desperate. She wants to know what to buy, how to do her makeup, her hair. Oh my God. And the angst hits. And over time, she learns to say, I don't give a crap what y'all think about me. See, that's where conservatism works in your favor. Conservatives get to the point where we go, I'm not getting desperate over what you think about me. See, when you learn this about yourself, your level of desperation drops exponentially when you say, I don't care what you think. I'm very secure in what I believe. And what secures you in your belief system is when you've seen it work. That's what should secure you in your belief system. That's what should give you, what am I looking for here? Not power, but you when you see things work, confidence. Thank you. Finally, you make your paycheck. The confidence of watching something be successful. For example, if you save your money and then your car breaks down and you go, I'll just run to my savings and get it. You know now I don't have to feel desperate because I have my emergency car savings. Or if you've saved for, losing your job and you've got 6 months cash in the bank and you're like, you know what? They gave me a payout. I've got 90 days of that. Plus I've got 6 months of reserves. That's if I don't cut back. So you don't have that feeling of desperation. If you start to dwindle down the reserves and you're lazy, which is what most leftists do, then you get a sense of desperation. But here's the deal. Desperation's good. Sometimes you need that desperation even when you've planned for things, because let's face it, life doesn't always give you what you want. This asked Democrats on November the 8th of 2016. Hallelujah. Happy New Year, by the way, folks. The life doesn't give you what you want, but it will give you what you need. And let me tell you, when we were in that desperation mode, when Barack Obama got elected the first time, but certainly the second time we were desperate because we went after him. He had a record and we were like, we can beat this clown, but we didn't. And we got desperate, boy. But we recovered. That's right. And you know what we did? We learned from our desperation and we said, we don't want that typical candidate anymore. We got Donald Trump elected and we found ourselves in great shape. We are no longer desperate. The nation should no longer be desperate because we have a leader that really cares about the people. Yet Democrats are still desperate. They remain desperate. They won't confess in their desperation. They're the criminals who won't crack. You've seen them in the interrogation room. They're all cocky. All they want to do is lawyer up. They just wait. I don't have anything more to say. I just want to see my lawyer. But see, they're also schizo. Democrats create worlds for themselves that allow for their delusions and accommodate their desperation. And that's why they don't learn. See, when you hit rock bottom, when you get to the point of confession, you're like, all right, this is it. It's like you got to start your 12-step program because you are smart. There's a thing about desperation. It's a necessary ingredient to learning something or creating. Desperation is supposed to teach, but it can only teach the teachable. In the teachable, desperation drives innovation. You innovated in this last election. So I'm just going to use that as an example. You innovated in this last election cycle. But I can go further back than that. I look at the Industrial Revolution, where innovation was just at the forefront. We're talking about the early 1900s. And we had things like the cotton gin. There were people out there looking at black folks picking cotton going, man, I wouldn't want to do that for a second. So Eli Whitney says, you know what? I'm going to create something that'll strip that plant and get that cotton off. And that's what happened. The majority of invention comes from somebody's desperation. The janitor who was sweeping with that little bitty whisk broom, and he looked down that corridor and went, holy crap, this is a big corridor. He said, I could do a lot better if I put like some fabric on a big flat piece of wood and I'll push that down there and soak up all this, debris. And this will work a lot better. So he invented a push broom. And somebody went further than that and said, you know what? I could do a vacuum. I could suck up all this stuff with air. He got desperate. Maybe he ran out of time. Maybe he was given an impossible I want this done in less than an hour. People are, I've been doing this with the push broom for a long time, and it takes 3 hours, And the guy got desperate. I'm just telling you get tried in your desperation. When I was a kid, this big kid, he was a friend of mine. And I remember I was in the first grade, and he cornered me where I was against the wall in between desks. And when I tell you this kid was big, I'm not kidding you. In the first grade, this kid was probably, I'm going to say 5'8", and he was 2 feet wide. I bet he weighed 200 pounds. I'm not exaggerating this one bit. And for some reason, he got mad at me. And I'm a little shrimpy guy at the time, and he's walking towards me like he was in a craze, like just like a zombie. And I was calling his name like, hey, trying to wake him up, and he wouldn't. And he finally got within punching distance of me, and I just got desperate. I hadn't trained in it, not a second to fight, but I just pop, and I popped him right in the face, and he starts crying because I'm calling to him, hey man, what's up? Why are you mad at me? And he starts crying. And at that point, I'm telling you, in my desperation, I wasn't a fighter then. I went, wow, that ended that. But I was desperate. Because this boy was big. If he'd gotten his hands on me, he would have crushed me. Anyway, I want to talk about desperation in terms of what we've been learning about politics. And I'm going to get into Hillary Clinton here in a bit. So hang in there, folks.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.